guys for coming on this walk with us. About a year ago we started these conversations and this is what it's manifested into. But all of these photographs are made up of 5 months worth of internal investigation on who we all are as individuals and how these the stories that live and work and play on Lawrence Avenue connect to each individual here.
Cultural Hotspot Project is a 6-month-long initiative focused on really highlighting arts, culture, and community in the South Scarborough area. And one of the underpinnings of the Cultural Hotspot is youth mentorship and youth leadership and employment. We worked with professional artist Che Katari as well as Jelani Morgan to instruct youth and lead them through 10 weeks of photography workshops. And then the idea was really to kind of tie in the idea of the community was to be telling the story of Lawrence Avenue, which is kind of a key street in Scarborough because it runs sort of the length of the cultural hotspot. And we had this notion that it would be lovely to tell stories of all of the people who made up the community.
We started with one vision, it kind of transformed a couple of times, and now we're at this phase where every time we do one of these programs, it's not just about taking pretty pictures. Before we even get to the camera and before we even get to pictures, it's the question of what am I taking pictures for? What are the picture's purpose? What is my purpose in this picture? What is my story within this picture? I chose to shoot it in this way and have this composition in this negative space. We want to hear the technical aspect of photography.
When I was a kid, I was just always taking photos because I love taking photos, and it was really just personal occasions. When I was out with my family, friends, I just always wanted to capture things.
This is pretty much the most important thing I've done, and it's the biggest opportunity.
My statement and the things I wanted to shoot, the stories I wanted to tell kind of shifted when you realize how much the camera can kind of affect people.
I think there's so many narratives here. You go down this street and there's the strip malls, after strip mall after strip mall, and like just within that, the types of spaces that are there, the restaurants that are there, the people that come to those restaurants, and there's a long legacy on this road.
Lawrence Avenue was a big part of that, sharing that similar journey. This is a portrait I shot of Dr. Ralph Gomez, and this moment and the lessons that I kind of learned with the history of Lawrence Avenue came from him in that same aspect of him reflecting back on his childhood when he actually grew up right at Pharmacy in Lawrence. So this is kind of in homage to that idea of looking back to where we came in order to move forward.
Che really pushed us to ask some tough questions about who we are. I know that one of the questions the very first day that he asked was, who am I, how am I, and what is my purpose? I think before then I was shooting and I liked taking pretty pictures, but my photography wasn't really rooted in my knowledge of self.
Just knowing yourself as an artist was the biggest part of it, because if you don't know yourself as an artist, your photos don't mean anything. Like there's no bam. Like nobody would get captured by what you take because you weren't even captured by what you took.
Photography has the ability to be at the same time, a singular perspective, but to influence and affect so many. You can really say so much with one photograph, and it can be your slice of a perspective, but then so many people can partake in your perspective.
The city had provided us with a list of potential photo subjects, and there were a lot of great names on there, but I really kind of wanted to find somebody whose name maybe wouldn't have made it on the list. We stopped in a restaurant called Spice is Right. We approached them, we asked them if they'd be interested in having their photos taken, and they were very nice, but they declined. And then a man walked in and he said, why don't you ask him, maybe he'll say yes.
She was that little girl that come up and remind me about some of my kids. the kind of approach, you know. She didn't really say daddy, but she said, you know, can I take your picture? I couldn't resist that because I was looking at my own daughter.
But I never would have imagined like that it would end up on a billboard.
Right when I saw it, I was like, one billboard, that's the billboard. Because it was that moment that like most photographers would not click, you know? And the fact that she was prepared, ready to click at that moment, in that off moment, that's when you get that shot.
And now that I understand myself and I understand sort of what I want to do and how I am with a person, I can anchor my photography in that. And it's much stronger because now I'm shooting with a greater sense of direction.
For me, I went through a lot of like, just really like depressive times, and you know, maybe like the darker, cloudier days. And then this whole year, like every Tuesday especially, has been nothing but positive vibes.
Sharing it with other people was my biggest struggle because I was like, I'd always think it wasn't good enough. And then being with that workshop, it's like they've given me the confidence to say that yes, you can show your work and it's good and you can keep getting better.
At some point during the program, it just stopped becoming a technical thing for me. I feel like I've been shooting so long that certain things were kind of like natural and kind of like innate, and there was other things I kind of had to learn.
Sometimes your equipment is unprepared, sometimes your mind is unprepared. And in my first drafts of my artist statement, I wrote that sometimes we go in unprepared in different ways, and it affects our photography. But really, struggles come with every level of professionalism, and I wouldn't wish anybody got past struggles because it means they're always learning.
I think that through the lens and by holding the camera and taking somebody's photo, you learn about how vulnerable they're willing to be in front of the camera, and so you have this exchange and you respect people's comfort level and you take what you can. And at the end of the day, I always hope to be able to get at least one photo of the person.
Stay in touch. I'm so thrilled to see this room jam-packed. This is exactly what all of the participants in this program deserve. The quality of the work that everyone exhibited, as you saw on the walk, is top level. I truly believe that if you ask any of the photographers, they won't say that I did this, they won't say that Giuliani did this. This is their work, their photographs. They took these pictures, they walked the streets, they discovered who they are first as themselves. They are now telling their own stories on the street. All we did was shine a bit of light.